How are my favorite girls in the world doing? I am so excited to be here. This is probably one of my favorite topics to talk about, and it's been a while since I have really talked about this in depth. I used to be the type of person who was so insecure. I used to hate myself, not feel comfortable in my own body, in my own skin, with my own thoughts, in anything, you know? I used to want to run away from who I was and try to be other people and try to please others around me. And because of that, I was finding myself in all the wrong relationships, with friendships, with people who did not respect me, who did not value me. And most of all, I clearly did not value myself enough to know that I deserved better. And I didn't value myself enough to know that I was capable of creating my dream life, to pursue it. You know, I was so much smaller than I am today because I was constantly hiding away from who I truly am. And I didn't feel like that was good enough, and I didn't feel worthy. And so I just used to hide behind my own fears and my own self-doubt and so many insecurities that I used to have. Because, you know, when you're a teenager, you're kind of like trying to figure out life. And I think the most important thing at that age is for you to fit in. So you do everything you can to fit in. You do everything you can to belong. And you end up losing yourself in the process. But then you go into your 20s, and I feel like that's when you start asking yourself the big questions. You know, you start asking yourself, like, why do I actually want this? What do I want out of my life? Why do I hang out with these people? What is true to me? Like, what do I actually value? And like all those bigger questions that then give your life direction, or hopefully they do. And once I started asking those questions, it started being clear that I was just a shell of myself. I was nothing but a person who just wanted to be liked, and a person who wanted to be loved, which is okay and it makes sense. But at the same time, because of that, I didn't like who I was, because I wasn't being myself. And I didn't like myself because I was just, I wasn't really like the things that I'm proud of today. I wasn't really harnessing my potential, and I wasn't really like going into my essence and bringing that to life. I was hiding away from it. So that really weakens you in your power and in your essence and in the light that wants to come out, you know? And when you are in hiding mode, you also don't have the like light, the capacity, the energy to create your dream life and to attract the things that you want. So this is actually so fucking important to talk about. And it took me a while to get to this point where I can genuinely say, like, I am obsessed with myself. And it doesn't mean that I don't have insecurities or that I don't have moments of self-doubt. I have a bunch of those. Okay, I'm human. And I literally go to therapy every single week or every other week to work on these things still, because I'm not perfect. But I have gotten to the point where I do not entertain certain types of people, or I don't put myself in certain situations, because I have that level of respect and love for myself that I didn't have before. And I know, and some people would argue that being obsessed with yourself, just that word maybe makes you want to, like, you know, squirm, or just feels uncomfortable because maybe you were told to, you know, not be selfish, to think about others before you think about yourself, to, you know, that being obsessed with yourself or even liking yourself was you being cocky, or you being arrogant, or you being a bad person or superficial. And so we are kind of taught to be insecure, and we glorify insecurities, and then brands and, you know, the world outside uses that against us. So like people kind of thrive on your insecurities, you know, but then you're the one who has to pay the price for them. And so I actually want to start, like, before we get into the actual, like, how you get to that point where you are completely fucking self-obsessed, which honestly, I could not wish anything else but that for every single one of you listening. I really want you to feel so fucking good in your own body, mind, and soul. Like, I want you to feel like you're really harnessing your essence and like using that to create your dream life. There's no better sensation, honestly. Like, nothing feels as fulfilling as, you know, knowing who the fuck you are and being obsessed with that. But before we go into that, I do want to say that, like, again, some people would say that's selfish or that's arrogant. So that's where I want to start. In case you are wondering, like, is being confident a bad thing, or is being too confident a bad thing? Or maybe you see other women in your life or even on social media who appear to be super confident, super full of themselves. And that makes you, that triggers you, that makes you uncomfortable, that makes you maybe insecure about yourself. Or worse, you kind of end up, vilifying that and making it like, oh, this person like is probably like a bad person or a mean person. They think too much about themselves or blah, blah. I used to be that person who was so triggered by other people's confidence because I grew up my entire life with people who, glorified the opposite. And I actually remember this vividly. Once my cousin, like, this was when I was, a lot of years ago, but I was kind of starting to think about, starting my own blog and starting my own Instagram account back in 2014, 15, something like that. So 10 years ago at least. And I remember him saying, oh, everyone who has like a YouTube channel, or they have like a channel or a social media page where they like show themselves, all of those people are super arrogant and like what's it called, like they're super shallow and they're basically like everything that I didn't want to be. And I remember that actually like held me back from like fully showing up and from putting myself in the place where like, yes, I want to be seen and I want to talk about these things because I do feel like I have something worth saying and worth listening, and I just remember hiding from the spotlight for my entire life because as a kid people applaud you for like putting on a little show or saying something funny or wanting to like perform in front of your parents or your family. Everyone loves that until you like get to a certain age where suddenly like, oh, like don't do that, like you're being too much, or you're blah, blah, blah. Like you kind of start feeling like you need the opposite in order to be appreciated and loved. And I felt that my entire life. I'm a Leo. Let's start there. I'm a Leo. I love the spotlight. I was born for it and I know it, and I felt it since the first moment I came out of my mom's vagina. Okay. I've known that because like I cannot explain it besides the fact that it's always been the right place for me. Like I've always loved being on stage. I've done that multiple times in multiple situations. And I love it. I love it since I was so young, even if it made me super nervous, but I loved it. I loved being applauded. I loved, like, of course we all love it, but I knew that was a part of my destiny, a part of my, like dream, to be in that place. I wanted to be a singer and I wanted to like perform. And now I'm doing social media, which is also a part of my, my dream life. And so that has always been so natural to me, but I remember repressing a lot of that because I thought that makes me wrong, that makes me like selfish, that makes me shallow, that makes me, stupid or ridiculous or whatever. So I do want to start by that, okay? That was a big introduction, but I wanted to give you some context. Let's start there, girl, okay? You are not selfish for liking yourself. You are not shallow for knowing you're fucking hot. You are not superficial and you're not arrogant for knowing who the fuck you are. It's like people who make you feel bad for liking yourself, people who make you feel bad for feeling good about who you are, for feeling good in your own skin, people who try to like make that feel wrong, those are the people who want to take advantage of you not being in your power. Those are the people, or even brands, let's say, because there's also brands that like profit a ton fuck out of that, but those are like the people who want to take away from you without really like giving anything valuable back. Those are the people who profit or gain value from you not being in your power. Whether that's a guy that, would rather you being insecure, because if you were actually confident and you realize that you deserve better, you would probably walk away the minute after. And so it's probably better for him to make you feel like you're not all of that. And so maybe he treats you a certain way, or he makes you question. Like, that was literally my ex. He literally made me question purposefully about like whether, you know, he wanted me or not, or he would talk about how other girls wanted him because he wanted me to feel insecure. And sometimes people do that subconsciously, but you notice it once you get into that mode where you're like so anchored in your power that nothing can shake that. Even if you have your own doubts and your own triggers, because those don't go away like that. Like, those don't go away right away, but like you can assess that more. You have like, your compass is not flawed anymore, and so you can understand whether something is going to allow you to keep standing in your power or something is actually taking your power away, especially with people. Because again, so many people, even not being on purpose, even if it's unconsciously, but they like take energy away from you, and they take advantage of you not being in your power, you know, and they drag you down and they hold you back. And that's not what we want. If you're not obsessed with yourself and obsessed with the life that you're creating, because those things go hand in hand. You cannot be obsessed with the life that you're creating if you're not obsessed with yourself, and you cannot be obsessed with yourself if you're not obsessed with the life that you're creating, because those things are the same thing. Because your life is a reflection of who you are and who you are internally, and what's happening in your inner world with your emotions, with your thoughts, with the way you think about yourself, with your self-concept. Like, all those things is what creates your reality. So when you're not obsessed with yourself, and when you don't feel good in who you are, you're not going to create something that feels good to you, you know? Because again, when you're not in your power and you're hiding away and you're playing small and you're shrinking to make other people like stay in your life, you know, to overstay in relationships that do not serve you whatsoever. When you are in that energy, how can you create something better for yourself? Like, you're literally locking those opportunities away because you're just like, no, I gotta stay here. I gotta be this person. I have to like please this person or this person, and I have to do what this and this person expect of me, or whatever, you know? And then you're not actually like being a co-creator of your reality, and that's taking so many opportunities away from you, which we do not want. So just think about that. The person who makes you feel selfish or bad or wrong for feeling good about who you are, for standing in your power and standing in your truth and owning what you want, owning your boundaries, owning your standards, those are the people who want to take advantage of you. Those are the people who cannot be in your life when you are in full capacity. Those are the people who are literally meant to like step aside. They are meant to not be there when you move forward, whether that's because they're not part of your inner circle or because you completely remove them from your life. That's up to you, and that's what you need to assess. I've had to completely remove people from my life, but also other people, for example, like my parents and blah, I don't want them like close by like all the time, because I know that, you know, they don't understand my path. They don't understand my reasons. They don't understand what I'm trying to create. And so I don't want them to like constantly whisper in my ear whatever the fuck they're saying, because they don't understand. They don't get it. And that's okay. But I love them and I want to continue to have them in my life because they are people that I value. And so I keep them there. But I've also heard of people who, you know, that relationship was really toxic and really problematic, and they had to completely cut them off. But that's up to you. That's your decision. That's something that you should think about, though, because it is, you know, having a cost in your life and in the life that you want to build. So definitely, you know, reflect on that. Who are the people right now in your life that make you feel like you need to be less, like make you feel like you can't feel good about yourself, that make you feel like you're holding back from who you truly want to be or what you truly want to say? And then understand that that's also your responsibility. It's not their responsibility to make you feel good about yourself. If they don't make you feel good about yourself, it's your responsibility to walk away. And I think that's something that we really need to understand. First of all, like, don't try to change other people when they treat you like shit, or when they, you know, don't make you feel valued or appreciated. Yes, you can communicate and things can be addressed. But if you understand, like, this person is not willing to make it better, this person is not willing to grow with me, then they're not meant to to grow with you, period, you know? And I think that's something that we just need to really take into consideration. Because when we don't, we're sacrificing something that's valuable to us. Okay. So that was what I really wanted to say. There's nothing selfish about really loving yourself. And there's no such thing as loving yourself too much. There's just no such thing. The more confident you become, the more your life is going to grow and flourish and attract the things that you want. Because confidence isn't you being mean, by the way. Like, one thing is being arrogant. You say, oh, I'm better than everyone. Oh, like, everyone else is stupid. Everyone else is blah, blah. Fuck the world. Like, I'm better. I deserve better. But, you know, like, there's an arrogance to it. There's a difference between that and saying, you know, like, I fucking love myself. I'm confident. I know who the fuck I am. But you're not trying to push other people down to prove a point. You know, you're not trying to, like, pull others, you know, you're not trying to make them smaller, and you're not trying to put yourself on a pedestal by putting yourself like below you. That's actually you hiding your insecurities. Only an insecure person tries to put other people down. Only an insecure person tries to put other people down. Period. Only an insecure person feels the need to put themselves on a pedestal to feel superior than everyone else. That's a person who's actually hiding behind their own insecurities. That's not what we're talking about, okay? We're talking about true confidence, the type of confidence where you want to see other people win, where you want to see other people value themselves and respect themselves and honor what's true to them and what's sacred to them. We're talking about confidence that, like, you respect that other people have their own path, and if it doesn't align, it doesn't align, period. You're not trying to pick up fights. You're not trying to be chosen. You're not trying to, like, make other people respect you because you deserve respect. Like, no, if you don't, then okay, I understand that we're not aligned, and that's okay. We don't need to be a match, because I'm not trying to be for everyone. I know who I am, and if you don't get it, then you don't get it, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's just what it is, and that's a different energy. You're not in chasing mode. You're not in superiority mode. You're just being yourself, and you're owning that, and you're very, like, laser focused on your path and the life that you're creating, because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. The only thing that truly matters is the life that you're building for yourself, because that's the life that you are living. It doesn't matter what everyone else is doing. It doesn't matter what life they're living. It doesn't matter, you know. They don't play a part in your equation unless you want them to, unless they bring benefits into your journey, and unless they make you better, they make you grow. You know, if they don't bring value to your life, they're irrelevant. They are irrelevant. Okay? So just remember that there's a difference, and don't let other people make you feel like, you know, no, like, you need to understand the definitions. And I think that's the best way that I can put it. Arrogance is a completely different thing than being confident. And unfortunately, they're put in the same package, because it's just like, I don't think people understand it. Again, like, we have glorified being insecure for ages. For ages, it was all about complaining about how miserable life was, and who has it worse, and all those things. But we're not in that age anymore. And when we are in that frequency, we're only, like, gonna continue to, you know, dig ourselves a deeper hole, which we don't want. So just come out of it. You know, just realize, like, actually, like, who I am and what I'm building is meaningful, and I'm going to stay on that path. I'm going to stay true to that. So we actually have a little list that I wanted to talk about. Now that we're done with that first part of this episode, I have a list, which I don't do often. So when I do, you know it's for real. You know this bitch is ready, you know? So the first thing that I want to say that really helped me get to a point where I'm like, I love myself and I'm obsessed with myself, was actually super simple. Actually, most of these are simple. Some of these are tough. We're gonna get there, but these are simple in nature. Okay, so the first thing is, you need to start doing things that you love. I know that sounds basic, and I know that everyone is kind of talking about it, but not really. You know, you need to start investing your time, because that's what it really is. Investing your time in things that bring you joy, and things that bring you pleasure, and things that make you feel like you're living in your main character moment. Because why wouldn't you want that? You know, like, you shouldn't be a bystander of your own life. You should actively make it into what you want. You should actively transform it into what you want, right? Don't wait for it to be better. Don't wait for your circumstances to change, for you to find joy, for you to find freedom, for you to find abundance and inspiration. Those things come once you put yourself in that path, right? So doing things that you love is actually super important because it nourishes you from within. It nourishes your soul. It makes you feel like you are, actually acknowledging, I love these things. And if I love them, it's for a reason. And so you're feeding into your soul, which is something that if you haven't done that throughout your whole life, that's when you start feeling empty. That's when you start feeling disconnected from yourself, disconnected from the people you love, disconnected from the things that you used to love because you were not putting energy into them. And so suddenly there's not a resonance anymore, like you're in such a low frequency that suddenly like the things that you love don't even bring you joy anymore. But it's okay because you get to bring that back again. And actually working with my inner child was such an important piece to this. I feel called to say that right now. I feel like this is a channel message, but like working with my inner child was such an important piece to that. Thinking about the things that I used to love as a kid, trying to do more of that. I remember at some point I even played with my toys again. At the age of 21 or something, I grabbed my toys and I started playing with them, and it felt weird as fuck because, like trying to play the voices and blah, blah, just alone in my room. It was awkward. But like after like 30 minutes or something, 30 minutes, I remember feeling my tears. Like I was literally crying after 30 minutes of playing with my toys because I realized like I was completely disconnected from that part of myself. I was completely disconnected from the part of myself that is the most creative, that is looking for wonder and looking for magic. And I lost that part of me, The world felt so real, so like 3D, so colorless. And suddenly connecting to that part of myself made me realize like wonder is still out there. Magic is still out there. My imagination still works. I still have all this color and all this life to me. I just haven't been really like drawing from that energy. And so going back to the things that you love is actually going to help you connect to that love, to that fullness in life that we get so disconnected from when we have 9-to-5s and we're busy with our jobs and we're busy figuring out our life and our relationships, and suddenly it's like we kind of start questioning like, is life worth living, and I found myself in that place for so many years because I wasn't giving my life meaning. It's your job, it's our job to give our lives meaning, and that starts with you doing the things that you love. And so whether that's, getting back into hobbies that you lost along the way, or maybe, getting back to playing that instrument that you used to play as a child, like I got back to singing, songwriting, to playing piano, and I actually started playing ukulele as well. I started roller skating again, which I hadn't done for like 10 years or something. I started roller skating again. I actually super miss it right now. I didn't bring my roller skates to the Netherlands and I'm crying about it still. But so I started doing that. I actually started dressing up a lot more, which is fun because like I think at some point I just felt like I couldn't be that girl, and so I just completely gave up on it. And I actually I held a grudge for other people who I felt were confident or liked themselves or were dressing nicely, because I felt like I could never be them. And so I just chose to completely separate myself from it. But actually like dressing up has been something that like has been making me feel more like myself, because when I was a kid, I loved dressing up. I loved putting on dresses and putting on some heels, my mom's or my aunt's. Like I loved doing a little fashion show. I used to love those things, and I lost connection with them because life happens, and you feel like those things are kind of taken away from you, and you need to take life seriously, and then you forget that actually that's what life's all about. And so that was actually something so important for me in the past year, just starting to dress up for myself again, and feeling good with decorating my body, with taking care of my skin. I'll talk about that later though. And so doing things that I love, that's been so important. Like I got back to drawing. I don't know if you can see them there in the corner if you're watching this on video format, which I'm guessing you are. But yeah, there's like some paintings that I've been doing, coloring. Oh my god, I got into everything. I even started doing origami, like all these different things. I got back to reading, which sure, it's smut. I didn't used to read smut as a kid, but I did love reading, and I kind of lost connection with that. Absolutely love it now. And yeah, it's all of those things that you kind of lose connection to, but those are the little simple pleasures that like bring color back to life, that make you feel more connected. If you're ready to enter your most iconic main character era, then you need to stick around and hear this, okay? Before we keep going to the rest of the episode, I want to take a moment to talk about the Girls in Growth Patreon, which is a new addition to our world. And this is the place where you're going to learn to align with your dream life and live like your higher self, so that you can attract all the things that you desire. All your manifestations, all your biggest dreams and goals are going to come to life, because you are going to become the woman who naturally attracts them. You are going to learn the foundations that are going to make you more confident, more magnetic, and more unstoppable. So definitely go check it out, because on Patreon you're going to receive all the tools, all the practices, all the step-by-step processes that allowed me to come so far in my journey, and I decided to share them all with you inside the Patreon. There's a 7-day free trial available for you if you want to check it out to see if it aligns with what you want and what you need right now. I'm gonna leave the link in the description of this episode. Definitely go check it out. I love you. Social media is amazing, and it can be such a source of not only information but like empowerment. Like, so much of who I am right now is because of the things that I learned online, 100%. But at the same time, when you're constantly looking at other people live their lives and you're not actually doing anything for your own, you just lose that sense of power and connection. And that makes you feel the opposite of obsessed with yourself. That makes you feel more insecure, more in self-doubt, more disconnected. I think that's actually the opposite of self-obsession. Is being disconnected, is not feeling yourself and your essence, not being anchored into that. That's the opposite. It's not even insecurity, it's disconnection. Interesting that I figured that out now. I have never thought about it this way. So that's the first thing. Think about the things that you used to love as a kid. Think about things that you want to try. I literally have an entire bucket list for this year, and a lot of those things are things that I want to try out. Like, for example, horse riding. I actually want to take horse riding classes. Haven't figured out the like how yet, but I am gonna do it. It's just a matter of like figuring it out, or the opportunity coming to me. But like, I have already decided. It's already happening. But like all those things that I used to dream of as a kid, and I'm taking all those back and claiming them again. And suddenly, like, life did gain color, and I did feel more connected to myself, because I made that a commitment with myself where I was doing that consistently. And so the more I did it, the more I felt like me, the more I felt like the parts of me that I had lost along the way that I loved about myself. Because that's the thing, you kind of like try to you shrink yourself and you try to fit into a mold, but that takes away all the things that are special about you, and when you do that, that's when you don't feel like yourself. That's when you stop liking yourself, because you're not actually being yourself, and you're not actually owning the parts of you that make you unique, that make you special, that make you fucking awesome and magical, so all the parts of you. And that's kind of is that my second one? No, it's actually not, but we'll make it the second one. That's actually something that I think is also so important, like letting yourself be all that you are, like instead of trying to be so, understandable. So there's a specific word for it, but digestible. You don't need to be digestible. And we try to be digestible. We try to be understood, which I get it. It's such an important need, but the right people will understand us when we are being ourselves. So that's actually the second thing that I want to talk about is you need to be yourself. You need to be so authentic. Like, let yourself be too much, let yourself be cringe, let yourself be weird, let yourself be crazy, let yourself be emotional, let yourself be loud, let yourself be all those things. Let yourself be, what's the word? I can't remember. I can't talk today. Let yourself be introverted or extroverted, or whichever one you are. Like, let yourself be you. And that's actually one of the main things that allowed me to become self-obsessed, was self-acceptance. It always starts with self-acceptance. It was like, even within my own four walls, because when you're so scared of other people's judgment, I get it that it's so hard to like come out into the world and suddenly just be yourself. Like you don't even know what that is anymore. You don't even know what that looks like anymore. And so what I would suggest is start doing that on your own. Again, with the things that you love, with the things that make you feel like yourself, with dancing and I don't know, being crazy and doing that in your own four walls, you know, just with yourself. Just building that sense of safety with, yeah, I get to be myself. I get to be cringe and I get to express myself in this way. Journaling actually helped a lot. Again, with the downloads, because I didn't write this down. So thank you guys. But journaling was actually a big part of that. Like it allowed me to accept myself through putting away my thoughts out there, putting away my emotions and just owning it. Just being like, I feel like shit today. And I have this doubt and this doubt and I have this thought and that thought. That was actually a big process for me to like embrace who I am and embrace all these different things that used to make me feel like I was broken beyond fix. Like I was a fuck up. I remember feeling that way for so long because I had such a depth that I didn't know how to understand, that I was so scared of going into, of truly diving into. It made me feel again like I was broken, and that's actually why I kept searching for someone to save me. And so when I started owning that, and when I started going after understanding myself, and I also went to therapy at the time, but honestly there was also a lot of my work. It wasn't just the fact that I went to therapy. Therapy means shit if first of all you don't find a therapist that actually helps you, but second of all if you're not also doing the work. I remember after therapy sessions I used to journal for hours and cry and scream, and that happened for like more than a year, where I was doing that work repeatedly, like all the time. Anytime I felt big emotions, anytime I felt all this intensity, instead of pushing it away and numbing myself or distracting myself and scrolling on my phone or going out to party and getting drunk and getting high, I started listening. I started paying attention. I started acknowledging it. And that really helped with me making more space. Self-obsession can't happen if you are trying to take away space, if you're shrinking yourself. Self-obsession happens when you make yourself bigger. And so for me, that was such a big step. Journaling, I keep journaling even today. Like I literally bought this pen for journaling, which I'm obsessed with. But I love journaling, and I either journal on my laptop or on my actual journal that I bought. But either way, like when I feel like I have these thoughts come up and I'm noticing like, okay, this is like on loop, and I'm like finding myself with these feelings and these things, like I try my best not to push away, because believe me, it's still hard for me to not want to avoid. I want to avoid it. Still to this day, there's things about me that I want to run away from because they scare me, you know, because they're uncomfortable. But I just try to remember that like my growth and my liberation and all the things that I've like been able to attract came because I expanded, because I opened up to myself, not the other way around. So I just keep remembering that, and I just keep showing up. And journaling did help. Literally, like, start journaling either every day or every week, whatever feels good to you, but just journal, you know, just put your thoughts out there. Don't let them stay stuck in your head. Like, actually have conversations with yourself. That helped me the most. I was having conversations with myself and with my inner child, just really like connecting, telling myself like, I'm safe, I'm okay. And actually, like, I have some of these practices already on Patreon, by the way, because these have helped me so freaking much, you know, talking to myself in the mirror, talking to my inner child, reassuring myself during like the moments where I felt like I was at my worst and I was feeling anxious and I was feeling doubt. I would literally just hug myself and talk to my inner child. And again, those are practices that are already inside Patreon that have helped me, because I do want to put those things out there and give you the tools that have, you know, transformed my life really. So that was a big thing, you know, self-acceptance is such a big part of this, because that makes you bigger, because you're opening up to yourself, and that openness creates space, and that space helps you evolve, creates evolution, you know? And so that's a big part. And then this is where it's really important, because when you are accepting yourself and when you are being authentic, when you are being yourself, and if that's too much and if that's crazy, if that's blah, blah, like learning to accept that like a big step of that is also making sure that you're not surrounding yourself with people who can't make space for that you're not allowing people to steal away those parts of you or making you feel like you should be small. And this is for dating, this is for friendships, this is for everything, even for your workplace. It's important that people around you are appreciative of who you are. And if they can't do that, again, it's okay. They're not a match. And it's important to find more and more of the people who get you, who can make space for you. So putting yourself in circles with women who make you feel like you get to be confident. Maybe they're also on the same journey. That has helped me so much. Like, I've grown so much because I have my best friend by my side, and because she's doing the same work, and because she values me and she appreciates me. She hypes me up, and it's real. It's real. It doesn't come from envy. It doesn't come from trying to compare each other. Like, it comes from true love and appreciation, and that makes a fuck ton of difference. And so understanding that if you are currently surrounded by people who make you feel like you can't be yourself, who make you feel like your opinion doesn't matter, who make you feel like when you make a joke you're not funny, or when you say something that it's stupid or dumb, they're not your people, and they're not going to allow you to grow, because you're always going to feel the need to shrink, because obviously you want to belong. But if you're constantly trying to belong to the wrong places, you're just stealing away, again, not only your opportunity to grow and evolve and expand who you are, but also like all the people that want to find you and all the people that do resonate with you. So be aware of that, because I lost so many friendships in my life. So many, because at some point they did serve me, and at some point they just didn't resonate with me anymore for some reason. And letting them go and just embracing that, even when it was hard, because there were some friendships that literally broke my heart, that, they stopped all of a sudden, sometimes with zero explanation. But redirection is not redirection, but rejection isn't only redirection, it's also protection. So I know that the people that aren't in my life anymore, that decided to go away, that it's because they don't align, that it's because they don't bring what I actually need into my life in this current moment. And so I embrace that. Even when it hurts, I embrace that, because I know it's for a reason, and because I know that makes space for more of my people to come in. And that's actually how my best friend found me. Like, it was in a moment where my old high school friendships, like all of them were kind of just slipping away. And I wasn't really like wanting to go back there, to be honest. But I also felt really lonely. I also felt like I wanted connection. And for a long time, I didn't have what I needed, until I found her, and I found all these other friends that I actually mostly met online, and suddenly I felt like I had a space again. And me and her specifically, we have grown so much together. We have evolved so much together. That would have not been possible if I continued to hold myself back and held on to those old relationships that did not serve me whatsoever. I'm so like, that is a disservice to yourself, and you deserve to let go, because it will help you become more confident, become more empowered. And again, there's nothing more important than that, because when you feel empowered, you do things. Shit happens. You make it happen. You feel more in control of your reality, because you are being a co-creator of your reality. You are being intentional about your energy, about your time, about the people that you're seeing. And that helps you create more of what you want. So it's very valuable. It's very important. The next thing that I want to talk about is connecting with your inner goddess, which I feel like I need to talk about, because I'm all about the spiritual side of things, witchy side of things. Obviously that's been a big part of my journey, and I feel like that's something that I need to bring here. Because when you're obsessed with yourself, there's also like an ethereal level of that. You're connecting with your body, and you're feeling safe and good in your own skin. Yes, you are connecting with your mind and learning to understand yourself, learning to get to know yourself better. That's so important. Understanding what you value, understanding what you don't want, understanding like what are your boundaries and your standards, and what are the things that are non-negotiable to you. Those are so fucking important, just as much as understanding your emotions, making space for your depth, sitting with those things, you know? But then there's also the like spiritual, ethereal side of it, of like connecting deeper, of listening to your intuition, of awakening that part of yourself. I feel like that has been particularly really important for me, like knowing that I actually have so much power in my hands, like starting to make spells, making rituals, connecting with like the energy of the elements, with nature, with connecting with my spirit guides, and knowing that I am guided, knowing that there is my higher self, and connecting to that energy. It has helped me feel like, first of all, there's something bigger, and I'm not alone ever. Like I always have guidance, and there's always something like happening for a reason, and I'm being supported always. But it also made me feel more confident because I started channeling more of that energy, and it helped me make better decisions because I wasn't just thinking from like current reality, I was thinking from my higher self. And that allowed me to feel more aligned with the path of my dreams. That empowered me the fucking most. I literally remember I spent like an entire 6 months or something working with Persephone, which she is the goddess of the underworld in the Greek mythology, and we worked a lot on self-love stuff. So I was constantly doing self-love spells, self-love affirmations, self-love works, whether that was like putting on hot clothes, dancing in front of the mirror naked, like doing all these things that are, you know, usually like a woman has that witchiness in her that she kind of neglects. And honestly, like I've been through so many phases already, but that's always something that I go back to because it just reminds me like, damn, I am fucking powerful. You know, like it just connects you with like this very primal, ancient part of you, you know, the wild woman. I actually have an episode on this way back. It's a very old episode with a guest called Lucy Lampe. Yeah, she's amazing. I love her. She is one of the women that I admire the most in my life. But she and I talked about it. So if you want to go check that out, because connecting to that part of myself, to that more like primal part of myself, really helped me feel empowered in my life and helped me feel like I was a goddess. It wasn't just like that I was expecting my man or whoever came to treat me like a goddess. I felt like a goddess. I felt powerful. I felt like I had this ancient wisdom. I was connected to my intuition. I was connected to my energy. Like my energy felt alive, and that made it different. That just made me see things differently because I feel energy in things, and we feel energy in things. We just usually don't really notice those things, but putting crystals around, like having rose quartz. I literally have a bracelet right now with rose quartz. Wearing clothes that make me feel more feminine and more confident, more empowered and more sexy. Like I love that energy. I feel so magnetic when I'm in that sensual energy. I feel so magnetic when I'm wearing pink, which I love because people are like, oh, like he made me fall in love with pink again. He made me like pink again. I made me like pink again. Okay. I fell in love with pink again because I fell in love with my femininity. I fell in love with my, you know, childlike ways, and that brought so much more color into my life. And one of the colors I used to love as a kid was obviously pink, you know, Barbie and fairies and all these things. And like pink was such a, like an underline of all those things. So like falling back in love with that color, falling in love with just expressing myself in that way, instead of always trying to be neutral and digestible and trendy. I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna be as whimsical as possible. I'm just gonna be crazy as fuck. And so those little things actually made such a big impact in me. Let me see what else. So yeah, dancing in front of the mirror, complimenting yourself, that has been such a big one to like help me connect and make me feel like a goddess. Like I started complimenting myself like one. I started talking to myself in the mirror, which again, I have a mirror practice on Patreon if you want to check it out. Making self-care like a devotional practice, making self-care like a moment where I was literally like at my altar and I was just like being fully devotional to myself, doing some glamour magic, taking care of myself, putting on some perfume, like taking care of my skin and my hair just for me. Because I've been single for 3 years, and every time I used to get fancy ready, it was either because I had something to do or because I had someone to see, and usually it was a man. And to be in this point in my journey, like, you get to dress for yourself, you know, you get to do that. You get to dress for yourself, and dressing for yourself is super empowering. When you look at yourself in your mirror and you're like, damn, I would literally do you. Like, if I was a man, if I had a dick, I would literally do you. I would literally eat you alive. Like, having that with myself has been the most amazing journey ever, because I literally get horny for myself. And honestly, I get horny for me. I love smacking my ass a little bit when I'm like looking at myself in the mirror. I'm like, damn, you look good. You know, like, compliment yourself. Why wouldn't you? You should. It makes you feel this like energy, this like sassiness, this like, I don't know, fire come to life, and it feels so fucking good. Why would you deprive yourself of that? You know what I mean? Like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So yeah, making that a devotional practice, like taking care of yourself for you. It doesn't need to cost immense amounts of money. Just like doing a shower with nice music, with some candles, you know, or going to bed and like hugging yourself and just making sure you're comfortable and just saying like, sleep well, princess. Like, things like that have given me so much more confidence and made me feel so much more valuable because I am valuing myself. And that's actually also why I'm not fucking concerned whether a man likes me or not, whether a boy is obsessed with me or not. I couldn't care less about making him obsessed. That annoys the shit out of me, because if you were obsessed with yourself, you would understand that the right people are going to be obsessed with you. They're going to be like, you're going to attract them. I mean, you're going to attract them to your life like flies to fruit, or like mosquitoes to the light. I don't know. You're just going to attract them, like magnetize them, you know? You do not have to chase, and you do not have to convince anyone to like you when you know you're the shit. Because you are in your power, and you're doing your thing, and you're standing in your journey, and you're continuing to walk towards your right direction. And so you're not like trying to sneak a peek and see like, oh, am I missing out here? Am I missing out there? Like, is someone wanting me? Is someone choosing me? Like, you know, you're just like, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay true to my path, and whatever comes is exactly what is meant to. And getting to that point where you are complimenting yourself, you're feeling good about yourself, you are feeling hot in your own skin, and you're like celebrating that shit, you realize that, like, first of all, that's bare minimum for the man that you find, which I think that's really important. Becoming the standard is something that I always talk about, because I genuinely believe it's the only way that you can attract what you fucking deserve, is becoming the standard of what you want, is being that standard for yourself and for your life and how you show up, you know? And so I expect that from a man. And when that man doesn't deliver that, I know it's not my man, so I walk away. It's that simple, because I know what I want, and I know what I deserve, and I know the type of person, the type of woman that I am. And so I want someone that can understand that too. I want someone that gets that having me in my life, in their life, I mean, having me in their life is a fucking asset. Because I'm a fucking muse, you know? Like, you're gonna feel so inspired by having me in your life. I'm gonna make your life so much better. So like, if you don't value me, and you don't like celebrate that, and you don't make me feel appreciated, and you don't go out of your way to like, you know, bring more of that, why would I waste my time? Because I'm here and I'm investing in my life and I'm building something meaningful for myself. So if you don't bring more of that meaning, if you don't bring more of that connection and more of that purpose, why would I waste my time with you, you know? And that was a mentality that could only exist when I was fully on, like, obsessed with myself. And that's actually one of the things that I want to talk about. Like, you need to prioritize your life. You need to prioritize what you're building. That's something that made me completely obsessed with myself, because I realized, like, I'm not living to be like, and I'm not living to be appreciated by another man. I don't care. Of course, I am sensitive, and when a guy rejects me, and I've talked about this on my TikTok, my Instagram, like, when I have been rejected by men on dates, like, that stinks. That is not pleasant. And obviously the little girl in me also has those wounds, and they still get triggered to a certain degree. But the way I move on from that is so much quicker, because I'm just like, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, okay, sure, goodbye. Good riddance. You know, like, it doesn't stay with me as it used to. It doesn't impact me as it used to, because I'm not making a mean shit about myself. It hurts for a second, and it's like, oh, okay. But then I just remember, like, who the fuck I am. Because that's a practice, you know, that's something that I'm constantly reminding myself of, because that's the energy that I'm constantly channeling. And so I always come back to my power. I always come back to my power, and I always get reminded of who the fuck I am. Because I keep going, because I have my journey, and I have my dreams, and I have the things that I'm trying to manifest, and I have the money that I want to make from my business, and I have the dreams and the projects that I'm working on. So why would I come out of my way to meet someone who doesn't really meet me and my needs and my requirements? No, absolutely not. And I think that's why it's so important to live for yourself, and to create fullness on your own, and to depend on you to bring that life to life, if that makes sense. Life should be colorful even if you're single. Life should be colorful even if you don't have a man pursuing you. Life should be colorful either way. And you can bring that color to life when you bring yourself into it. When you focus on bringing more love and more passion and more joy into your life, and you make it a commitment, and you make it a devotion, you know, because life is a devotion to you. You know, your life is you saying, I'm devoted to creating my dream life. I'm devoted to creating the best life ever. I'm devoted to giving myself everything that I deserve and living my best life, living my life to the fullest. And that's not always an easy choice. It takes a lot of responsibility, and it takes accountability. And sometimes it takes you doing the hard things and making the hard choices 100%. Don't get me wrong. It's not always easy at all. But when you get to that point where you are showing up, you're just not concerned with making him obsessed. It doesn't matter. You know, it really doesn't matter. It completely loses its relevance. So I want you to know this. Like, build your life for you. Become the standard. Live life to the fullest. Focus on your dreams. Focus on figuring out so many other areas of your life that unfortunately we don't usually focus on. Focus on building financial literacy, and focus on building a vision board and figuring out what you want to experience next year, and focus on how you can find your community, and so many of the things that we don't ever think about. Focus on your mental health and your self-care. Focus on spending quality time with yourself. Focus on maybe some passion that you have and some project that you've thought about forever but you haven't gotten to it. Focus on that instead. Focus on that instead, because that is actually so much fucking more important than anything else that you try to focus on. Definitely from any boy that you ever meet. You know, your man, your husband will add to that, but it will never require you to not prioritize those things. Actually, in fact, it will be the opposite. Like, he will align perfectly because you're prioritizing those things. But it doesn't matter, because this isn't about finding a man. This is about finding yourself. It's about loving yourself to the point where, like, nothing can deviate you from your path, where nothing can, like, make you question your worth and your power and who the fuck you are. You know, that's the journey. And that requires you being consistent, you know? That's kind of the last point that I have here. That requires you, my legs are so numb right now. That requires you being consistent. That requires you focusing on your goals and focusing on what truly matters, and understanding what you value. And instead of making decisions and making moves out of like what other people want from you, what other people expect from you, what society expects from you, because believe me, I know that's the easy route, and I've wanted it many, many times when I'm in doubt or I'm in fear, and I realized that, you know, fuck, like, this is hard. Choosing the unconventional path is hard. And I'm not saying that you need to choose the unconventional path. That's been my truth particularly. But it took me not following other people's advice and other people's supposed wisdom, because I was like, yeah, I hear you, but it doesn't feel right to me, and I need to find my own way. And that's always been such a challenge for me. It still is. It's literally, today I have my therapy session. That's one of the things that we're going to talk about. But But at the end of the day, it does bring me a sense of confidence because I chose myself. I chose myself even when it was hard. And doing that constantly, time and time again, nothing builds you up like that, you know? And that ultimately is what will make you obsessed with yourself. It's choosing yourself over and over and over again. And instead of stepping on you to meet someone else's needs, instead of shrinking to make someone else feel heard or not make them uncomfortable, you just keep being you, whatever it takes, whatever price there is at the end. Because yeah, you're gonna maybe lose some friendships, but you're gonna gain more. And even if you don't gain more friends, you're definitely gonna gain more meaningful ones. Because I only have like maybe 3-4 people that I'm like, these are my friends, and one that I'm like, this is my bitch. But nothing, like, I wouldn't switch that for 20 friends, you know? I wouldn't switch that for anything, because these are the people that bring more meaning to my life. This is what I truly value. That's my community. And of course I want to meet more people, and I want to build more of that community, especially now that I'm in a new country. But it's not that relevant anymore because I know I have what I truly need. And so when you just focus on that and focus on your own path, you're able to build a life that truly means everything to you. And when your life means everything to you, you're just not willing to waste it on someone who doesn't deserve it. You know, you're not willing to sacrifice it for someone just because you want attention or just because you want some love, or you're not willing to even do what feels easy because you know that the price to pay is so much greater, you know? And that's why it's so important to be obsessed with yourself. Because when you're obsessed with yourself, you do right by you and you respect yourself and you act with honor. You act with that knowing that, like, this is me. This is real. This is me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be now. Gotta let the light shine on me. I literally sing this every other month. but that's it, you know? That's really what I wanted this episode to be about. It's about building confidence from within that cannot be shook, that cannot be taken away, that cannot be questioned. Something that you build that, like, yes, you need to be consistent with this, by the way. It's not just doing right by you once and that's it. It's like building this relationship with yourself, solidifying it, which again, I have so many resources on Patreon for you that will help you out with exactly that. But like building that sustainability with yourself, it's going to build you up. Over time, it's going to make you feel more and more empowered. It might not make you feel that way right at the first round. It's not going to feel that way maybe at the second. But like, you do that consistently enough, you do that for a few months, you do that for a year, your life is going to change. Like, you're not going to recognize your life in the best way possible. You're not going to recognize your life. I've seen that change in myself. I've seen that change in my best friend. I've seen that change in people that I've coached and helped before. I've seen that change in so many people around me with this advice that I'm giving you. So if you truly want that change, definitely make sure that you are saving this episode and remembering this always. These are the principles that you need to live by in order to continue to grow in your life and to create the life of your dreams. I love you, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.